There's guys that have been in the industry a long time that like, they don't even barely need a TMS. To them, they're like, I got my process down, right? Like I know how I go over here to look at roughly what pricing should be, but most of it's in my head. So I know what to price the freight at, right? And then I jump over to the load boards or I have my spreadsheet for my network and they just get it. But we always talk about like being able to store the data though. Like when you're trying to scale, you got to have, like, you can't just live in somebody's head. Like what if that person doesn't show up tomorrow, right? So how do we make it more scalable?
Living on Post-it notes and blank sheets of paper that are scattered all over the desk is definitely a thing of the past, and that's what we ended up getting away from when we left our server-based system back in the early mid 2010s. And being able to have a TMS that actually like stores all that data, pricing notes, carriers and carrier relationships and history, customer information, valuable, like that's fortunately, we've been able to find ways to bring everything into the system, the TMS, to be able to allow a day one employee to have almost a fully teed up way to execute within Tai for our clients, just as much as I do with the 5, 6, 7, 10-year employee who's been working with us. So it's been helpful.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you're using workflow automation?
Yeah, we've been able to use workflow automation on kind of some of the handoffs. Specifically, I think about passing from account management over to carrier sales, letting them know like, hey, all the details are in this individual load, like it's ready to go out for capacity, ready to go out for sourcing, whether we're doing that manual touch or we got things going in the background that stage can be automated for us. We're also using some of the workflow automation to do some POD retrieval when loads are hitting a delivered status. Texting drivers or dispatch looking for the POD immediately so that we can begin our AR process before the AP process happens. So that's been helpful for us on the cash flow side of things. And there's a lot of, you guys have recently just announced it last month, the TIA kind of pushed some new features and customizations with reference fields and such like that and alerts into the system that like we have been working with your team on so that we can even further establish some of the rules that we're doing, especially like some of the LTL side of things that we're doing when it comes to like OS&D and any sort of billing discrepancies and things and such like that can kind of do some of the pass offs or maybe a rating specialist on over to a dispute resolution, things like that, without having to go to Teams and send something along or go and jump on over into our front and take it from one inbox to another inbox. But I mean, even with workflow automations, I use a very smart TMS connected to a very smart email, and I use your guys' integration on that way from both ways, coming whichever side I'm living in. And we've been able to create workflows based off of those as well. Some of the things that come in on emails to be able to kind of tee it up to either the next individual or the next life cycle of the load that it needs to take. So workflow automation, it's something that has really been helpful. We're continuing to dive into it. Like you said, it's one of your newest products, but it's one of the ones that's growing the fastest. It's built-in AI into the TMS pretty much at this point. It's believable. It's unbelievable, and you guys keep expanding on it. And it just allows all of our team members to continue to take on more without them being replaced.
When it comes to just, kind of pivoting into your experience with Tai, what do you think is some of the most valuable aspects that your team actually uses day to day?
Yeah, and I think specifically on the full truckload side of thing, like the number one biggest asset for us is the truckload quoting screen. I mean, it is literally our dashboard that contains any sort of a rating tool that you may be set up with. You guys are set up with all of them. Everyone chooses which ones they prefer. I've got all my rating in there. I've got all my own rating that is stored internally within Tai too, and that's the number one data source that you have. I don't care what other softwares you patch with. I've got all my load board integrations built in there. I've got all my digital capacity sourcing. So for us, everything lives within the truckload quoting screen. From an account management to carrier sales, like that is where we spend our day besides like company load board. What's available, what needs to move, where do we need to focus our attention? Being in that screen and being able to see a summary of all of our recent loads, easy outreach to carriers, and you guys have recently brought in the carrier compliance side of things as well now too, which is extremely helpful for my carrier side. So they don't have to leave to go over to the LSP carrier screen to make sure that carrier is still compliant with us. all that data is now funneling into one platform that I can do full execution of quoting a client as soon as a client has approved a rate, being able to put it out to a load board, and or I can use some of my digital sourcing capacity to already go out to some of the relations that we've already established, and or my team can go ahead and do some of the manual touches if needed, or set up workflow automations that will start sending emails out to the carriers that have ran it for us in the past.
It's kind of an oversaid thing, but I think it's oversaid because it's just the reality is like this is a very relationship based industry, right? The people and whoever you have representing you on the front end with your customers matters a lot. Whoever you have representing you on the carrier side matters a lot, like how you manage those relationships. Can you talk a little bit about that in general, and even maybe expand into like, how's the partnership then with us, right? Like, and things like that. How is ATS handling partnerships?
Absolutely. And on the customer side, it's pretty darn easy for us. It might be challenging to say for some brokers out there, but the way in which we sell is what makes it easy. Like, we're in front of our clients and we do it 24/7. We give them demos on the TMS. That's what we're doing it hand to hand and clicking through the platform with them. So whether it's them entering a truckload order, tracking and tracing, or they're doing some of their own LTL on the platform, like we physically do live demos with them in their office, whether it's for just one individual, or it's for maybe like their entire purchasing team, their entire logistics team. Like, it's really nice. So the customer side for us has always been a little bit more on the easier side, just based off of the way in which we sell and being able to get in front of them. As for the carrier side of things, and what also can make it a little bit more challenging for us is being like so spot heavy and not having the lead times, means that like I'm going out to the open market frequently until I find those absolute right guys. And based off of some of the things that we've been able to talk about earlier, whether it's the truckload quoting screen, how we're going out for capacity sourcing, and using some of the vetting and the compliance measures that we have in the system, it's allowed us really to develop new relationships with clients that, like, one carrier rep of mine is easily accessible to pass on to another one based off of the notes that are stored within the system. The carrier tags that you're allowed to create, saying maybe like these guys run teams, or Cincinnati to St. Louis is a strong market of theirs type things. And you can use those. The one thing we're waiting on is for those to be able to be pushed into workflow automations as well for some of our team. And I know that we had just pushed that through, and that goes along to some of the communication we've had with Tai and the team there. Support's fantastic. We've got to know just about every single person on the support team at this point. And just given the tenure in which we've been with you guys, I mean, heck, I know your entire sales force. I know the C-suite and everything. It's a lot of fun because we've kind of been growing with one another and growing with the same path, bouncing ideas off each other for near 10 years now. So it's fun and it's nice because we've both chosen to grow at a pace in which we feel comfortable. I think you guys are scaling it out a little bit quicker than we are right now. I don't know if it's a stronger TMS market than it is a freight market, but it's good. It's been a pleasure to work with everyone there and seeing you guys, whether it was a month ago at TIA, and I know some of my team ran into your team last week in Indy at the Broker Carrier Summit. It's just really nice, and that kind of allows some of that creative collaboration to happen that allow things like the Tai experts to roll out tomorrow, which I know my team's excited to join and see what you guys have available. So